Michael and Lucas, I want to start with you guys first. So you started your company by sawing a sofa in half. Is that correct?
Yes, and we tried to throw it out a window, but it wouldn't fit. And so we realized that if it doesn't fit out a window, it probably won't fit up the stairs. So why would you want to own and move furniture?
Right. Fair enough. Was the sofa made by a sponsor of today's event? Or?
Seymour Flanagan? I don't know if they're a sponsor, but...
There goes next year.
Yeah.
So tell me, subscription furniture or rental furniture, as it used to be called, is not entirely new. It's been happening for decades, but what Fernish is doing is a little new. So I wonder if you guys could give me like your quick pitch of what you're doing and why the time is right for it.
Yeah, so we are essentially a furniture leasing platform aimed at a target population of young urban professionals who are, say, largely moving more and less excited about owning things earlier on in life than previous generations. When Lucas and I started the company back in early 2017, we started exploring business models that would enable a better version of a mobile urban lifestyle. And so we got a couple thousand data points across 9 major US metros from people who we just asked, what are the pain points of buying, moving, owning, selling furniture? And would you be open to a furniture leasing solution with an elegant consumer brand in front of it? And we had so many positive feedback points, we ultimately ended up using those to validate demand and start the company.
Got it.
I think it's actually interesting, one more thing there is that you referenced what we like to call like legacy furniture rental or furniture rental 1.0. Right. When we were doing customer development research with our customer base, 90% of them had said they'd never even heard of the concept of furniture rental. So as far as they were concerned, this was a new thing.
1.0.
Right. So Kyle, what did you saw in half to start Floyd?
A table. So Floyd, we're a direct-to-consumer furniture company, and we really focus on a succinct offering for the home. I think, like Lucas and Michael, we started the company, 6 years ago. It was really out of reaction to the disposability around furniture. This number is thrown around a lot, but 9 million plus tons of furniture are thrown away each year in the U.S. alone. And this is which is a staggering amount, but it's really a new thing. This idea, 30 or 40 years ago, people weren't throwing furniture out.
Yeah.
But that movement has, led to companies like ours, but the movement's been, led by, leaders in this industry, this kind of fragmented industry, really creating a culture around consuming furniture and then throwing it away. So Floyd's, kind of where we stand is really creating long-lasting quality products for the home and really going deep on them. And I think what we believe is that this, industry does lack a lot of depth. So really creating products that people can keep, that can move with them, and a brand that really backs that up.
Right, you guys are kind of like the anti-IKEA. There's 4 categories, and each one of them you want just to be very good, right?
Yeah, I think,
no offense to IKEA.
No, I think there's a ton of things we respect about IKEA, and I don't think IKEA is not the only company that creates products that are designed for consumption and then tossed. I think the impetus of starting the company was kind of in reaction to that, but in general, I think there's that, but also the industry is extremely fragmented, hard for a consumer to understand, and it gets pretty noisy, and I think going deep on good quality products, telling a story about them is what our consumers looking for. They are a very conscious consumer, and I think next generations will be just as conscious and care just as much, and I think that's why subscription furniture or buying a product from Floyd is like a good solution to what is otherwise a noisy and disposable space.
Right, and you actually, some of your pieces are rented through Fernish.
Correct.
Right. So I wonder if you could just walk me through. You said demographically, you guys are 20 to 35. Is that roughly the age range you're going after?
It's more the age range that's coming after us. Right. I think that we're focused on folks who finish undergrad into this constantly being pushed out notion of settling down. The average age of home ownership, the average age of marriage has all been pushed in recent decades, 5+ years down the line, and there's an amount of uncertainty that exists in the lives of, let's say, an urban professional demographic, and that's really what we're playing into. I think we've gravitated 22 to 35 pretty strongly to date.
Why is this, is it something in the water? Why is it now that suddenly everything is subscription-based? we just had, Jenny from Rent the Runway. Does anyone?
Yeah, so Kyle, will you answer the question for us? Lucas, you can chime in here.
No, I was actually thinking about something Jenny was alluding to earlier, and maybe we'll reposition it differently, but in the context of subscription and furniture, there's an opportunity as you go from 25 to 28 to 31 to 35, you potentially step up, your lifestyle a little bit with each one of those steps. Maybe it's having the first child, maybe it's getting married. The order can go either direction.
Yeah.
You want to change your identity, and the idea of a subscription furniture company specifically, like you live half of your life virtually in your home, and that is a big chunk of what your identity is.
Right.
So subscription furniture enables you to do that. You can re-identify, or rather recreate your identity on a 3-year basis, and it's not putting another 10K into it every single time that you do it. So it's a lot more fluid and possible to do it.
Right. It's funny, like when I explain the concept of subscription furniture to people in our office, there's a very harsh age divide where if you're over 35, you're like, what? I don't get that. And if you're under 35, you're like, I want that. And I won't say what side of the divide I fall on, but I think there's a very strong identification with it within a certain age range. Do you guys feel, and Kyle, this goes to you too, but is this something that's interesting to millennials, or is it that age range? Because obviously in 10 years, millennials will be 40 and above, and it'll be Gen Z or whatever they're calling the next generation. Will you only be targeting that age range, or is it a generation?
I think we've talked about this before. I think that it's a developmental psychology would refer to as like initial adulthood or something like that. So it's immediately upon graduating from high school and college as you're establishing who you are as an adult, and then graduating to some later adulthood stage. So whether you're a millennial or the Gen Z that's moving into it, and Michael and I think there's actually going to be a higher propensity with Gen Z because Gen Z is going to have grown up with Rent a Runway and every in a box service and any subscription service you can imagine. So it'll just be natural for them in a way that like the millennials grew into it, but it is definitely more of a developmental life stage sort of thing, and that's probably applicable even independent of the subscription side of things. I was thinking about like Kyle's business. It enables you to move every 12 to 18 months with durable goods, whether you're subscribing to it or you own those goods, and that's the key to both of our businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it is like more thoughtful product as well. I mean, you guys know, and I think, Michael and Lucas care about, focusing on products that are quality that can be, returned, and it's not a, product, I'm trying to avoid any names, but like a product that might end up in the dumpster a year later. I mean, their goal is to be able to, put that product back into circulation and refurbish it if necessary. But I think, like the consumer, I think maybe whether it's a millennial or Gen Z is more discerning and cares more about consumption, and I think we really hear that from our customer, and it's not just a hypothesis, and I think they do appreciate that there is thoughtful design, and then there's other ways of purchasing a product or leasing a product, because they're also not as game to commit to things, or they want to try things or understand things, because ultimately I think our generation and then Gen Z really do care more about experiences and less about just lots of things.
Right. So, a lot of the subscription services deal with small things like clothing or light things. Furniture is not light, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are familiar with the hellish logistics of shipping furniture without a leg falling off or something. How did you guys make it work, or how are you making it work?
Yeah, we were joking in the back that Kyle and his business are experts in product development, and we're essentially a logistics company.
Right.
Whether it be the software we have on the asset tracking, event-driven architecture, all the things that we've built. I mean, the biggest side of our house is actually software, and then a logistics team that uses the software to optimize, let's say, the utilization of our fleet of furniture at any given time. So that's essentially how our team is built and operates. So it's very different than the supplier group that we work with. Floyd's one of our most popular, their products are some of the most popular on our platform. And it's an incredible match here ultimately, because when you work with someone like Kyle and his team on the product side, where they're very focused on modularity, they're very focused on durability, being able to break down a bed and it's solid birch wood, and there's a lot of ways to refinish and refurbish that product to get it a second life in many respects.
It's also obviously one of the major value propositions of the service that we're bringing to our customers.
Yeah.
We regularly survey our customers, and convenience is usually in number 1 or 2, right? Because moving, as everyone knows, is one of the top 3 most angst-causing experiences in life, divorce and death being the other 2. So moving tends to happen at a higher degree of frequency for most of us, fortunately.
Yeah.
But that being said, so we're bringing the convenience into the lives of our customers. And I was actually thinking something, again, like Jenny, great job on a lot of stuff she was saying. She was talking about the concierge nature of packaging goods and bringing it in together. It's one thing we also focus on. Like, you're not getting piecemeal delivery of items into your home.
Right.
You're getting the entire home at once, if that's what you're subscribing to. Our typical customer subscribes to about 70% of the pieces of furniture that they need in a home. They may be leaving out a couple of accent pieces because they've already picked out something that they found at a garage sale or something that fits their particular other aesthetics. But either way, like, we're moving all of this fleet of things into their home in one fell swoop.
Right.
And that convenience is a lot of value for them, especially because they're just going to do it again in 12 or 18 months, statistically speaking.
Yeah, and I think, to Michael's point as well, like, I think products can be sort of designed for this, and I think it's about thinking about the life cycle of the product, modularity, redundancy in parts. So, like our bed frame has, basically 3 types of parts that are redundant across the system. So if they need to swap one out, you're not throwing out the whole bed frame. And I think, like, also, being a company that stands behind a design over a period of time is an important part of that product being, timeless. It's if you're a furniture company that creates a sofa that is a seasonal item and it's changed at the next show, I think that leads to more consumption and then more disposability.
Yeah. How big is this right now? Where are you guys operating Fernish?
So we have offices in LA and Seattle, and those were our first 2 markets that we launched early 2018. We expand on a bi-metro basis, and so we're going to be in a number of East Coast markets soon, which we're super excited about.
Right.
Ultimately, because we are a logistics company, we need operations in each market where we are live. And so it's from an expansion perspective. We actually find different tastes in each market too.
Okay,
I mean, the Pacific Northwest versus Southern California, we have different options in terms of furniture in each market, and we anticipate that ultimately continuing as we expand too.
So
yeah, Fred, you basically set us up for it because you said furniture is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So we can't have a single, like, 2 different distribution centers somewhere in the country and they can parcel or drop ship it. We have to physically bring it into the home, especially if we're aggregating the pieces to bring it together into the home. So it's a major function of what our business does, that we have to be thoughtful about geographic expansion.
Yeah. I'm curious because there's other players in this space and a lot of people are exploring this. Do you guys feel that in 10 years, just everyone who's 22 to 35 is going to have a subscription to furniture, and they're not going to own things anymore? Like, how will this take over the model for that age range?
Michael has very strong feelings.
It sounds like this is like an investor pitch.
Sorry, I don't have any money, just to clarify.
I think it will serve a portion of the population who places a lot of value on keeping low-quality furniture out of landfills, place a lot of value on their time in a different way to whatever maximizes convenience. Is it going to work in essentially every metro across the U.S. and Canada? I don't necessarily know, but I do know there is and we have found this is a acute pain point in the lives of a growing demographic of people, and I think Gen Z will continue to accentuate that trend, as we all discussed.
Right.
And I think it will be very interesting to see how the general market responds and adapts to, like, subscription lifestyles in terms of, furniture, right? Because what we've built on the operations and technology side is very different than what traditional retailers or even, like, digital retailers operate, especially from, like, a reverse logistics perspective.
Right.
So how the market adapts over time will be super curious to watch.
I think we also alluded to this earlier when I was talking about the idea of reinventing your identity on a regular basis as well. So there's something to be said for the fact that, like, most customers 20 to 25 are buying IKEA, they're somewhat okay with the formulaic nature of it because it's very inexpensive.
Yeah.
But then they get into their second or third job and they actually would like to get the C&B sofa or the West Elm or other custom boutique shops, but they're not ready to put down the entire paycheck yet because they don't want to have to pay the mover $2,500 to move it uptown or wherever they happen to be.
Right.
So we fulfill the this aspirational living. They want to have nice stuff that inspire them. They come home to, but they also know it's inevitable that they're going to have a new roommate next year. They're going to be dating a different guy the year after that. They're going to this
Well,
cycle continues.
yeah,
It's
maybe.
inevitable.
Yeah.
Maybe cynical, but inevitable.
Do you? No comment. Do you guys? Is there room for Fernish to move into the high end at all? Because right now, it's CB2. You have your own pieces. You have Floyd. Not that it's not good quality stuff, but is there room to move into like luxury furniture?
Yeah, it's we call that the restoration question.
Right.
They're like the highest bar in the market.
Yeah.
I think it's, we've seen a number of use cases around people in their 40s that are actually using our service for a variety of reasons, whether it be second homes, whether it be divorcees, whether it be
Empty nesters, widowers.
empty nesters who are downsizing, and we do get that question on the consumer side. Right now, we're laser focused on kind of our target demographic, as any startup sort of has to be, right? You started with a leg and then a bed frame, and then you expand products over time as you talk to more and more people. So we're definitely open to it. It's actually something very exciting for us, because we want to be there to cater to every use case that exists for something like this.
Yeah. Kyle, what about you? Do you feel like you're just comfortable with where you are in the market and you don't want to grow up, or?
Yeah, I mean,
That sounded weird.
You don't want to grow
Do you want to grow up? Kyle?
one day I'll grow up.
Yeah.
My own
When do you
furniture.
meet a nice girl, Kyle?
On your own person.
Yeah.
No, I think like part of our vision is that we're not we're offering good, well-designed, quality products to a larger demographic. It's really about like allowing and creating design that's accessible, and I think being direct to consumer, it's part of that. It's like our furniture pieces are about people who are about their space really, and it's not as much about this loud furniture piece. It's about simple things that work within the home and are adaptable, and I think we'll continue to focus on those essentials and make really great quality pieces around that, and there's so much more of the home that we'll expand into. But I don't think what we're trying to do is approach a like higher end market and price people out. So I think it's about making a furniture company that is accessible to more and more people. And I think like to the point earlier of subscription is for us, I think it's really exciting because we're hitting we're working sort of with a logistics company and kind of a transition in technology to be able to get our product in front of more people who want to buy or have a Floyd product but aren't ready to commit. And I think it will be exciting in 10 years to see how subscription fits into the world of furniture, and I think for us it's really really understanding how the customer continues to shop Floyd it's another tool for them to be able to purchase, and I think like will continue to help us leverage our brand and our line of products.
Right. Do you guys feel like specifically for Fernish that interior designers have a role to play? Because a lot of designers make money by charging a markup on furniture, and if they're renting, that definitely makes the model a little cockamamie from their perspective. Do you work with them in Fernish? What's your perspective on what role they have to play?
Yeah, I'll go. I know we were just talking about this in the back, so I'll go. And you, Lucas, you chime in. But we actually have a number of interior designers on staff. I mean, you see, I don't know if you on a screen. We see.
Oh yeah, let's get the first slide. Fernish.
We see one of our collections here, which there's a couple of our house pieces here. It's not quite on the screen, but and there's a couple of products we were from CB2. But all of this is. Now we have our art decor and accent packages with rugs. This is from a network of suppliers that our interior design team has selected. We've found a lot of value and uptick when people come to our site and they have a lot of questions around, what goes with what? And so some of that's technology driven, but because, as Lucas said, we're only doing around 70% of a home today, I think there is room to even layer on more of a personal touch in terms of how we might work with either celebrity stylists or otherwise, to augment our offering in an even more fulsome way.
Yeah, I think the other thing I would add to it is that, we do, so Michael attends every high point market, both fall and spring, and so he's interacting with every interior designer as they're attending every one of the trade show presentations, and trying to identify new trends, and obviously with the way that we have furniture that's circular in nature, so it needs to be able to go through multiple cycles. We're avoiding too much, it can't be too trendy because we need to go through the sufficient number of cycles for it to actually be profitable for us, right?
Right.
So we are looking out for pieces that look like new pieces that are sufficiently timeless that would actually fit within our catalog for a particular duration of time. We also obviously think about, and I know the next panel has a representative from Modzy on it, right? So how do you think about visualization and interior design in the context of visualization? Another LA-based company, Laurel and Wolf came and went in that space. Yeah. So we're obviously very mindful about the idea of bringing interior design into what we're doing. Yeah. But having seen a number of VC-backed companies not succeed in that space, I would say there's a little bit of leeriness there. We would like to do it, but how do we do it in a way that's ROI positive for our business and doesn't burn up all the VC cash?
Yeah. Yeah, and I would echo what these two said, but also, we're focused on furniture and a couple core pieces, and while we like to inspire our customer, and I think we do that through social media and bring more people into the fold of design, I think interior designers and design in general, I think is about pulling a space together. There's much more to that than choosing a bed frame, obviously, or a sofa or a bookshelf. So I think we work closely with a lot of people in the trade, and we have a lot of people speccing our products, and I think we want to see more of that, and we do still offer trade discounts, etc. But I think for our demographic, being 25 to 35-year-old, as they get into the brand, they're not always maybe first going to an interior designer. So we think we can be a conduit in a lot of ways of getting more people to be interested in design, and then in the future maybe they buy a bed now, but they bring in an interior designer or a designer to help fulfill the rest of their space or their next home.
Right. It's funny the thing you guys said a second ago about how because the pieces are designed to go through several cycles, you have to be careful about being too trendy. And Kyle, I know you're designing your furniture to last 10 years, and in 10 years there's going to be a new aesthetic to some degree. When planned obsolescence isn't part of your business model, how do you think about that? How do you think about, well, a customer isn't going to be buying this again in 2 years, so how do I keep making money,
I think we're going after the whole home, and if, I think there's plenty of room in this market to really go after a home and sell products that people keep. I think we look to companies like Patagonia, they sell quality lasting products and stand behind a design that they sell year over year. And they're still, they don't go out of style. Yeah, the reason things go out of style are because companies don't stand behind their product, and they, offer the next style next year. I think if you look at Herman Miller or Knoll, having products that can withstand the test of time isn't just, coincidence that it was a great design. It's because Knoll, Herman Miller stood behind those products for 60, 70, 80 years.
Right. You guys going to stand behind your product for 60, 70, 80 years?
We're going to stand behind Kyle's product.
Perfect. So we're going to open it up to questions. We have a couple runners. Does anyone have any questions? We got someone in the middle there. Can we? We're gonna get a runner over to you very, very quickly. So just that question is going to be very well edited by the time.
Please pass that down. Yes.
There we go. Pass the mic.
Curious what your demographic is as far as who's subscribing. Is it more male, female, and is the assumption that they're more single than coupled correct?
So it's actually, in our case, it's about 2/3 female, 1/3 male. And then in terms of...
it's about 50-50 living with roommates, or actually, it's more often than not living with roommates. So folks in their 20s, mostly women, right now living with roommates. But it's a smaller West Coast sample set right now, although we've grown super quickly. Very interested to see how that might play out in a market like New York.
It's also not surprising that, statistically speaking, people are having roommates later in life. They're buying their first homes later in life. So a lot of the trends that we're doing just fit the zeitgeist of how people are currently living. So it's not surprising that most of them have roommates in this particular regard.
Liz Nightingale, question in front.
Quick question. question. How do you deal with damage? With things that spill, things that get broken. How does that fall into your profitability model?
Sure. This is Michael's favorite question on earth, so I'll let him answer.
I thought he was going to take it. So we have a product principle that we call circular readiness. And so any product that we carry has to fall into, has to meet a quotient of modularity, durability, and refurbishability. And whether that, be Kyle's products, who are modular by design. You have 3 different component parts for any product in particular that we're able to swap out, and, in that sense, we become a bit of a parts business. And then we have full refurbishing centers in each of our facilities, where we have a combination of leather workers or carpenters, which are on staff, that help us curate the products up front as well as refurbish the product out. And a cool stat for us is, having put thousands of pieces of furniture back into second homes or third lives, in some cases, we have less than 1% of folks who get used items either notice or complain.
It's actually interesting. I'm going to dovetail on that one on an earlier question too, which is around style fatigue or style, something going out of style in a particular period of time. If, like Kyle's, it's great having him up here because we can just keep on pointing to him and talking about his products. But they offer multiple different colors of the fasteners on the legs on the sofas, or on the bed frames, or on the side tables, the coffee tables. Like that enables us to introduce a new splash of color, and he just keeps on introducing new ones on the right cadence that we can introduce them into our rotation as well, and it gives us a new piece that we can keep as part of our Circular Ready catalog.
You have a question right here?
Yes, here in the front.
Hi.
Oh.
When I think
Hi.
of Squarespace, Squarespace, the web. They have a list of recommended professionals, web development professionals. What if you had a evaluated service where you can have, vetted interior designers? That is a recommended list. They show their work, and then the client, if they want that evaluated service, they pay for it, obviously, and it's a vetted list.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think something we try to do is, showcase through like social media and through our Instagram account, like really great user-generated content that's often by like interior designers, and really shout them out, and also great homes. So acts as somewhat of a directory, but I think that's really really interesting concept.
For our business as well, you think about people selecting either a one-click living room on design, like on demand, and dining room with their roommates. It's, I'm just going through throwing stuff at a wall in terms of product fit here. But why don't you sign up an interior designer to help with X, Y, Z and make the space a home? I think that's something we can absolutely move into too.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to this question over here.
Okay.
Do you have the ability to rent to buy, or have you seen much interest in the market wanting to actually purchase?
Rent to buy?
Yeah, so we definitely offer lease to own as part of our product offering. We see it as, so on this kind of goes to Fred's question around, do we think people will be doing this 10 years from now? There's definitely a psychological barrier potentially today around, like, do I really want to rent furniture? And so we say, well, let's mitigate that psychological fear and say, if you fall in love with a thing, especially all of Kyle's products, you have the option to buy them out. It's effectively, don't tell anyone, it's 0% interest financing on the furniture pieces that you buy through us. And we just want to make sure that you're satisfied with the product and the service that you're trying for the first time. So if that makes you feel more comfortable using Fernish, all the better. Thus far, what we found is the vast majority of our customers are actually not buying it out. They're opting to swap it out. So I'll use me as an example, as an anecdote, probably slightly biased anecdote. But I moved recently from one place to another. I swapped out my bed, I swapped out my coffee table, I swapped out my sofa, but it did stick with us. And what I liked about it was because I went from a home that was 150 years old to one that was 2 years old. So I wanted an aesthetic that better matched it. So I didn't keep the pieces, and I didn't opt to buy any of the pieces out because I wanted this inspirational place that matched where I was at in the new environment. And then I wanted the convenience of not having to pay a mover to take the stuff from A to B after I bought the pieces out. But yes, we definitely offer it.
Cool. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Awesome. Thanks so
Round
much,
of applause
Fred.
for these guys.